Om Namo Narayana, Jai Swami Narayana, Namaste, welcome back. Today we are starting the final chapter of Canto 5. This is either going to be 2 or 3 videos, I'm not too sure yet. So chapter 26 is called A Description of the Hellish Planets. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, "My dear sir, why are the living entities put into different material situations? Kindly explain this to me." The great sage Sukadeva Goswami replied, "My dear king, in this material world there are 3 kinds of activities, those in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Because all people are influenced by the 3 modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into 3. One who acts in the mode of goodness is religious and happy. One who acts in the mode of passion achieves mixed misery and happiness, and one who acts under the influence of ignorance is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties. Just as by executing various pious activities one achieves different positions in heavenly life, by acting impiously one achieves different positions in hellish life. Those who are activated by the material mode of ignorance engage in impious activities, and according to the extent of their ignorance, they are placed in different grades of hellish life. If one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery is the least severe. One who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. As for one who acts impiously and ignorantly because of atheism, the result in hellish life is the worst. Because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of different hellish planets since time immemorial. I shall try to describe them as far as possible." King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, "My dear lord, are the hellish regions outside the universe, within the covering of the universe, or in a different place on this planet?" The great sage responded, "All the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the 3 worlds and Garbhodaka ocean. They lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath Bhumandala, and slightly above the water of the ocean. Pitraloka is also located in this region between the ocean and the lower planetary systems. All the residents of Pitraloka, headed by Agnisivata, meditate in great samadhi on Lord Vishnu and always wish their families well. The king of the Pittas is Yamaraja, the very powerful son of the sun god. He resides in Pitraloka with his personal assistants, and while abiding by the rules and regulations set down by the Supreme Lord, has his agents, the Yamadutas, bring all the sinful men to him immediately upon their death. After bringing them within his jurisdiction, he properly judges them according to their specific sinful activities, and sends them to one of the many hellish planets for suitable punishments. Some authorities say that there is a total of 21 hellish planets, and some say there are 28. I shall outline all of them according to their names, forms, and symptoms. The names of the different hells are as follows: Tamisra, Andhatamisra, Rarava, Mahararava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asipatravana, Sukaramukha, Andhakupa, Krimibhojana, Sandamsha, Tapta Surmi, Vajrakantaka Shalmali, Vaitarani, Puyoda, Pranaroda, Vishasana, Lalabaksha, Sharamayadana, Avishi, Ayapana, Ksarakaradama, Rakshogana Bhojana, Shulaprota, Dandasuka, Avata Nirodhana, Paryavartana, and Tsutsimukha. All these planets are meant for punishing the living entities. A person who appropriates another's legitimate wife, children, or money is arrested at the time of death by the fierce Yamadutas, who bind him with the rope of time and forcibly throw him into the hellish planet known as Tamisra. On this very dark planet the sinful man is chastised by the Yamadutas, who beat and rebuke him. He is starved, and he is given no water to drink. Thus the wrathful assistants of Yamaraja cause him severe suffering, and sometimes he faints from their chastisement. The destination of a person who slyly cheats another man and enjoys his wife and children is a hell known as Andhata Misra. There his condition is exactly like that of a tree being chopped at its roots. Even before reaching Andhata Misra, the sinful living being is subjected to various extreme miseries. These afflictions are so severe that he loses his intelligence and sight. It is for this reason that learned sages call the hell Andhata Misra. A person who accepts his body as his self works very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and the bodies of his wife and children. While working to maintain himself and his family, he may commit violence against other living entities. Such a person is forced to give up his body and his family at the time of death, when he suffers the reaction for his envy of other creatures by being thrown into the hell called Rarava. In this life, an envious person commits violent acts against many living entities. Therefore, after his death, when he is taken to hell by Yamaraja, those living entities who are hurt by him appear as animals called Ruras to inflict very severe pain upon him. Learned scholars call this hell Rava. Not generally seen in this world, the Ruru is more envious than a snake. Punishment in the hell called Mahararuva is compulsory for a person who maintains his own body by hurting others. In this hell, Ruru animals known as Kravyada torment him and eat his flesh. For the maintenance of their bodies and the satisfaction of their tongues, cruel persons cook poor animals and birds alive. Such persons are condemned even by man-eaters. In their next lives they are carried by the Yamadutas to the hell known as Kumvupaka, where they are cooked in boiling oil. The killer of a Brahmana is put into the hell known as Kalasutra, which has a circumference of 80,000 miles and which is made entirely of copper. Heated from below by fire and from above by the scorching sun, the copper surface of this planet is extremely hot. Thus the murderer of a Brahmana suffers from being burned both internally and externally. Internally he is burning with hunger and thirst, and externally he is burning from the scorching heat of the sun and the fire beneath the copper surface. Therefore he sometimes lies down, sometimes sits, sometimes stands up, and sometimes runs here and there. He must suffer in this way for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of an animal. If a person deviates from the path of the Vedas in the absence of an emergency, the servants of Yamaraja put him into the hell called Asi Patravana, where they beat him with whips. When he runs hither and thither, fleeing from extreme pain, on all sides he runs into palm trees with leaves like sharpened swords. Thus injured all over his body, and fainting at every step, he cries out, "Oh, what shall I do now? How shall I be saved?" This is how one suffers who deviates from the accepted religious principles. We're actually going to pause there. That seems like a good place to pause. I like that last one. A place in hell is designated for those who are religious until a moment of crisis. I'm reminded of the bug. I don't use the word, the 5-letter word from a 2020, which YouTube doesn't necessarily like. When I saw so many people say God had abandoned us and that religion was a joke and they were done and they just walked away from the church or whatever and that was it for them. They were atheists now. Really? It was a time of crisis. That's when you should turn to God. Well, there's a level of hell for them. Because what point is religion if it's only for the good times? That's sort of not what it's about. So I want to make a comment here about theology. I see every so often people go, oh, there is a hell in Christianity, and there is a hell in Hinduism, therefore hell must exist, and therefore, look, all religions are the same, all religions are alike, they kind of teach the same thing, just different words, yada yada. You know the arguments. On the surface, that may be what this chapter may be telling you. Oh, all religions are the same and there is a hell. But there is a huge difference. First of all, this describes a hell of 21 or 28 planets. Now, there's nothing in the Bible that says anything about hell is on 28 or 21 planets. It is one place. According to Christians, hell is just one really big place with a lot of people in it. That's not what this says. This is different. These are planets. Planet, though, may be interpreted not as like a physical planet like Mars. It might be different, but there's different areas, and it doesn't say anything about mixing and going back and forth and whatever. Also, it needs to be remembered that we in Sanatana Dharma believe in reincarnation, which includes hell. So yes, you may go to hell and be burned in a pot of copper, but it is not for eternity. It is until all your karmas are purged, all the negativity is purged, and at which point you will reincarnate someplace else. So hell, if hell is a permanent place where you burn forever, that means you can't have reincarnation. Reincarnation is either you reincarnate, get to Godhead, or you reincarnate, you end up in hell, that's it, you're done. It doesn't work like that. You're always reincarnating. Hell is only a temporary place. Hell in Christian theology, it's not the same. And people who say, well, it's the same, well, you're ignoring that huge fact that for us, hell is not permanent. For you, it is. It's one place and it's permanent. Ours is lots of places and it's not permanent. That's a rather huge difference. The reason people compare these two places and say they're the same is because we've translated this realm of death as hell. And I think that's a bad thing. This is where I get into my frustrations with translations that I talk about every so often. I think by using the word hell, it is very easy for us to think about the Judeo-Christian Abrahamic version of hell that is well populated in society. We all know the devil horns. You don't even have to be Christian and you know the devil horn, Satan, and all this. You know the story of hell and what hell is. So when we say hell, I think that's what everyone thinks about. So using the word hell here, yes, it might basically be the best word option, because saying land of the dead, well, land of the dead could also be heaven. Heaven is a land of the dead. Land of the dead could be purgatory. That's also land of the dead. I don't think hell is the right word. I think we should use the Sanskrit word. I think that would be better, and it wouldn't create these discussions of all religions are the same and they all prove hell and they all whatever. There's another problem with that argument, and you may have noticed that I haven't been talking about how the hell here is 21 or 28 planets, but we know that hell in the Christianity is like 7 layers. Dante wrote about that. Well, it's not 7 layers. If you research the history of the devil and the history of hell, you will not find so much in the Old and New Testaments. There's very little in there. The book of Revelation is where we get a lot of information about the devil. But the book of Revelation, if you research it, was not written as a prophecy of the end times. It was actually written as a criticism of current events. As for the devil really has been constructed this red-horned being, and hell and the 7 layers of hell from non-biblical sources. One of the biggest sources of the description of hell is actually Dante. Believe it or not, Dante is the source of a lot of Christian theology, and this has been well documented. Dante was a novelist. He wrote stories. Those stories became the basis for theology. So there was a couple sirens going by while I was recording this, so I used one of those moments to grab a book from right behind me. It's an excellent book called Sanskrit Non-Translatables, The Importance of Sanskritizing English by Rajiv Malhotra and Satyanarayana Dasa Babaji. Yeah, I think I got most of that right. My apologies. These long Sanskrit words just boggle my mind. Satyanarayanaya. Maybe if I spoke German or something, I'd get it better. Actually, when I tried to learn Hungarian, that has long words, and you put things in the middle of the word to change the meaning, and it it was hard for me. So my apologies. But I grabbed this off the shelf because this is a great book that relates exactly to what I was talking about when it comes to translation and words being given different meanings. So according to this, the word heaven is actually in Sanskrit svarga, and hell is naraka. And according to this book, and I'm in agreement with this, naraka is not hell and should not be translated as naraka. We should be saying svarga and naraka. The time spent by jivas in naraka is not only for punishment and repentance for their sins, as in the Judeo-Christian framework, but to transform them through the understanding of Brahma. The entire foundational metaphysics for the two concepts is different and cannot be mapped onto each other. Therefore, we should not be calling this hell. It just creates too much confusion. It's not the same. They're two different things. This is a translation issue, and I understand why Swami Prabhupada, when he did this, used the word hell. It was the obvious word. But I think it does harm in the long term. And this goes into my belief of decolonizing Hinduism. And I've talked about this many, many times, that we should start using the older words. Yes, heaven and hell also have common meanings, like, oh, this is a living hell that I'm in, or whatever, or the strings on my bass were so bad and worn, it was hellish. That's a little different. Yes, I've had that. And they can be hellish as you're running your hand up and down and it hurts. But we should start using the old words when we discover them. So naraka and svarga as the key words. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Swami Narayan, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.